Classification of these documents. Great to see you, Congressman. Do you think these documents would have a perceived negative impact or a perception, I guess, of the Robert Mueller investigation, as has been said and the president has talked about?
I haven't seen the documents, but I do know that they will likely reveal what was hidden from the FISA court. And to Devin Nunes's point, if you had an FBI and a Department of Justice that was purposefully trying to make sure that a secret court didn't see information that was embarrassing to Brennan or Comey or McCabe or Rosenstein, then that's deeply troubling. And I think it goes to how motivated some of these people were to undermine Donald Trump both before and after his election. So I think Gaetz also right. It might not be precisely in the words that are released, but perhaps in the omissions that we learn the most.
You know, it's interesting to see the president's tweet and Jillian Turner's reporting, and that's what I was referring to. I mean, he's explaining this delay. Do you believe that the delay, though, will get us from seeing these documents, and why can't we see them all?
Well, I think we can and will see the relevant portions. And if Trey Gowdy says that there's not a sources and methods problem, you know, as a former prosecutor, I really think he has a great deal of credibility in making that claim, and I would support him. I have also a lot of confidence in the Inspector General, and I'm glad Michael Horowitz is involved. Harris, you'll recall the Inspector General with a great deal of candor about the real departures from procedure in the Hillary and Clinton email investigation, and to really begin the Robert Mueller investigation. The Inspector General said he could not rule out bias. That had a link back to Peter Strzok initially opening up on George Papadopoulos, and so that's why I'm particularly interested in Chairman Gowdy's comments about the George Papadopoulos nexus being a source of embarrassment for Brennan.
Just to drill this down, and I think Pete Hegseth, our guest last hour on Outnumbered, did a really good job of saying what's at stake here. If you take the names of the political parties out of this, why do Americans want to pay close attention now that we're getting close to seeing some of these documents declassified from the president?
Well, because it goes to the values of the country, no matter which party is in power. And I think that Pete really drew a fine point on the need for bipartisan reform. Unfortunately, this close to an election, it's hard for any politician to view these violations of our civil rights as anything other than for or against one side or the other. And I think that we've got to look more about, you know, in the future, when either party is in power, do we really want someone to be able to use their political dirt as a basis to go get a warrant to spy on their opponents? That should trouble all of us. That's why we need to turn all the cards face up and then hopefully have bipartisan reform. You
know, I know this is a little outside the scope of what we're talking about now, but I feel like I want to ask you this question because the president making the decision now, the IG, the Inspector General will sign off on redactions just like other agencies did yesterday because the documents have been out for a day or two. Do you think, given all that is about to come out with this and what we know, that it's a good idea for the president to continue this negotiation to actually sit down with Robert Mueller? Because I think that things are connected in the sense of just information in the investigation.
Any attorney that advises Donald Trump to sit down with Robert Mueller needs to make sure that they've got their malpractice policy very handy. I think it is a perjury trap. I think if you just look at the bias on the Mueller team, these are not people in search of the truth. They are people in impeachment charge. And I think the president needs to treat this for what it is, an unfair attempt to erode the legitimacy of his presidency built on a rotten foundation. When you really go back to it, all dirt from the Democratic Party and the Clinton campaign.
Well, it goes back to these documents.
It really shows the nature
from what
of
you're
it.
saying.
Yeah, it does.
It's interesting.
It does, but I mean, if the president just remembers something incorrectly, or if there's someone who contradicts the president, then we go off on some unproductive perjury journey, when I want the president focused on our national defense, our trade deals, our economy, cutting taxes. You know, I mean, that's what impacts the kitchen table on Main Street in America, not all this craziness.
Congressman Gaetz, the great state of Florida, we will bring you back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harris.
Well, as